techies. I'm a city techie, you're a city techie, they're a city techie. Let's get into it. So basically, this episode we're going to be talking about CPTSD and coping mechanisms. CPTSD, also known as complex post-traumatic stress disorder. You might know it just as post-traumatic stress disorder because most commonly in media, it's all they refer to it as, even though most of the time they portray CPTSD. CPTSD is basically just long-term trauma that affects you, like childhood abuse or having multiple sexual assaults happen to you in a short period of time. Also, like going to war or something like that. That's complex stress disorder. PTSD is just like one event happening to you, and it's traumatizing and everything happens. But I suppose because the name is shorter, it's easier to remember, so that's all people refer to it as. It's hard to cope with such a thing, It's just like, it messes with your brain, it messes with the people around you and how you act and how you think. Often people with CPTSD or just PTSD in general, they have hard times coming to terms with how the world is now. Their mind starts to function differently because they have multiple fear factors that could trigger at any moment. People cope with it in many different ways. Some are very helpful, some are rather harmful to themselves, but it's still a coping mechanism, nevertheless. Like, people often disregard cutting or, harming yourself as a bad thing to do, when sometimes people can't even control it. Sometimes that's all they can think about. If something bad happens, something like harming yourself, at least you have control over that instead of someone else harming you. So while it's a rather harmful thing and you shouldn't do it, it's not horrible. It's a common coping mechanism that people can't control. Wouldn't you rather be able to harm yourself and have control over the situation than someone else hurting you in a way you can't possibly take control of? It makes you feel better just to have some semblance of control over your own body, some autonomy, than someone else taking over for you.
Yeah, that kind of sounds like, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but sometimes when people have OCD, they like the control aspect of it. Is that similar to it?
Yeah, it's very similar. The thing is, a lot of time people with when traumatic events happen, they try very hard to, two things can happen. They either try very hard for things to not happen that way again, or they slowly dull out and the process repeats over and over again. Like victims of abuse, more often than not, they would happen to fall into a pattern because that's all they believe they're good for. While other people, similarly people of abuse, instead of being abused, they become the abuser to try and take control out of the situation they couldn't possibly control when they were younger or when they were in a certain relationship.
So then, in a way, the coping mechanisms are basically a trauma response in that same aspect, and I guess it's the view on the coping mechanisms is how you view the trauma at that same point, is however you view how bad something is, cutting, it's this is really bad thing, it's so negative, but at the same time, if it helps someone, even though it's bad, if it helps them get some control, some thought back into their lives, it's not really that bad unless they go too far, obviously, but it kind of hits that point of what's a trauma response and what's a coping mechanism, and it kind of teeters that line, I feel like.
Yeah, a lot of time it does teeter that line. Cutting, it's very bad for you and super harmful for your body, but sometimes you can't control it. But there's other little things you could do. There's this product on TikTok, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's called Little Ouchies. It's this 3D printed thing with the little, it's not spikes, but kind of spikes that you can roll on your skin, which has the same effect of kind of hurting you without actually damaging your skin. It's just kind of holding on to something too tight where you get the marks. It's similar, and it helps people who feel the urge to hurt themselves or cut, feel the similar pain-esque feeling without actually damaging their skin or hurting themselves. And obviously there are very good coping mechanisms too, like journaling. Journaling is a very big one that a lot of people do, whether they suffer from PTSD or just anxiety or anything in general. Or basically you take all the thoughts you have in your head and you just write them down. They don't have to be particularly good or bad thoughts. It's just whatever you're thinking about, whatever's like worrying you, you put it down somewhere. Some people I read like to take those letters where it's like all their bad thoughts and all their bad feelings and burn them, which kind of symbolizes them like letting go of these feelings and these thoughts of either harming themselves or harming someone else, or just like generally like insulting feelings for themselves. And some people they like to keep these momentums, like the good and the bad, and read back on them and see how much they have grown from the point of where they have been. Um, and I think that's really helpful. It's a really good thing to journal both ways. Like burning it, keeping it, crumbling it, doesn't matter as long as you're expressing yourself properly. It's very good.
But like, I feel like wouldn't that also kind of sometimes potentially go out to be a negative one? Because like, if you just pour all your thoughts into paper and you don't speak them out, you're technically still bottling up inside, even though you're writing. And let's say you burn it, you're still gonna have that inside of you. Because sometimes I feel like, even though like some people do think journaling is good, a lot of people disagree. They're like, writing it down doesn't really help me. And I feel like writing it down could make someone more emotional with it and make them want to go through with more of this stuff. And I feel like a lot of times that's kind of what happens with like, I guess like suicide and stuff, when they write like suicide notes, because they're all in like their head about it and they write it down and they're like, well, like I'm just gonna like keep writing, and then they're like, well, I might as well just give up because writing is all I have. You know, it's like sometimes I feel like people can get too lost in their own words to want to speak out. So I feel like, I guess like every coping mechanism can be a harm one.
It has its downsides.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also agree that writing, like something like writing doesn't really help me because I'm not very good at expressing feelings on paper. But like also another big thing is talking to someone, whether it's a therapist or a friend or just like a family member. If you don't have any of that, sometimes people say that they like get voice notes and they just talk and talk and talk and talk, because more often than not when you're talking you release a lot of tension and um, a lot of thoughts and opinions, even if you don't fully agree with them or you don't fully like them. You just, when you're talking, you can't really stop sometimes, and you're just expressing all your feelings out at once. And while, yeah, that could be bad, it's also a very good thing to just let go of everything that's been building up inside. And, like, therapists are expensive occasionally. They're good and bad ones. There's a bad side to everything. But having a therapist is very important. A lot of people should get therapists even though they don't want to, because some people view therapists as like something degrading, like you shouldn't have it, like you shouldn't have these problems. But by not talking to someone and by like disregarding the help, you're only making the situation much worse for yourself.
Yeah, I feel like one in for people with CPTSD, they could use therapy as their in to cope more and to like get more into it, because like that's like one way, and like yeah, you can talk about it. Let's say you don't really have any other coping mechanism, talking to someone who's a specialist in that, who understands what you're going through, understands trauma, can more help you understand where your trauma is coming from, where to go with it, and how to understand, like they can actually probably tell the person like, here's a coping mechanism you can use, here's one you can't, here's one that's like better for you. And not like you can't use it, but it's more like it's gonna have more downsides than plus. It's like a lot of times therapists do, they're like, oh, like cutting is bad, or like this is bad, or like not like cutting down like calories and stuff and all this stuff is bad, because yeah, it's harmful for your body, but at the same time people sometimes they take it too far, sometimes they don't take it too far. So it's like they sometimes therapists kind of let people know like this is the right path to go to help you heal, and there's another path that will maybe help you heal but might not help you as well and might actually hurt you more than help you.
Yeah, a lot of times people think like therapists are like you lay down on a couch or whatever and they tell you everything you need to do, but really therapists are more like guides to help you. It's like the saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. The therapist is there to lead you to the water, but now you actually have to commit to trying to help yourself as well. So it's like, it's a kind of like a, everything, all coping mechanisms I have, since my research I've learned, is like a double-edged sword. You can't have too much of one thing without something else going wrong. Can't write too much or else you could start getting into your head about it, but you also can't talk too much or else you might feel like I'm not going anywhere. You actually have to do something about it. You have to express yourself in a proper way. You have to work hard to try and not fix yourself, but try and heal. Because the thought process of I need to be fixed is only more harmful for your psyche than I need to help myself heal. Because stating that you need to be fixed is like saying that I'm completely broken. It's like when you break a Lego set, you don't think I need to fix this. You think I need to rebuild this. Yeah. I need to build myself back up instead of I need to fix myself. Because thinking you need to fix it means that you were inherently broken in the first place.
Yeah. I feel like that also separates CPTSD with regular PTSD because it kind of shows you, like, it's complex for a reason. Like, there's so much more in depth and the reasons why people have it more. And even though it is so overlooked, it has so much more that, like, needs to be looked at and studied. Like, I feel like I rarely see, like, research on it. I see it more on PTSD, and because that's just, like, one singular moment, one thing that happens, even though, yes, it's still really, really traumatic for someone, like a war, it's like someone that was in a war, CPSD is something that happened multiple times in the course of someone's life, meaning they'll be traumatized for life and for forever, and they might not ever get over it, but someone with PTSD, might slowly be able to get over it. Like, soldiers that get shot, they eventually, like, get over it, they can eventually, like, deal with it, but I feel like with CPSD, it kind of, like, takes over your life to the point of where it's, like, you have to do all these things to try to, like, you know, rebuild yourself in any way you can because it's so extreme.
Yeah, with the soldiers, I like the point you made with the soldiers getting shot. CPTSD and PTSD are different because PTSD is like a soldier getting shot once. The wound would eventually heal. But CPTSD is kind of like a soldier getting shot multiple times in multiple different areas of their body. Each part is going to heal in a different way, and each part is going to heal more quickly or slowly, and you can't really predict which part is going to heal faster than the other, which part is going to heal better than the other. You just have to continue to work to try and make sure that you get better and you heal better, because even though you're never going to completely be fine with all the damage that has been done to your body, you can still learn how to deal with it.
And I feel like that's also why it's like, it's not only the physical, it's also the mental, and that whole standpoint of, like, rebuilding. You're not fixing what's broken, you're fixing what needs to be fixed because you need to rebuild it in that fixing standpoint. Not like, oh no, this is so terrible, like, we'll trash it. No, it's like, this can be fixed again, it can be rebuilt, it can be made to as it was. It's not going to be the same, it never always is, but that's how you have to start somewhere else, because maybe your mind's not going to heal first. Maybe your physical, like, body will heal first. Doesn't mean you can't ever heal. That just means it might just take a bit longer, which proves that, like, it's complex for a reason. That's, like, it's in the name. It proves that, like, it's much more than just, you know, PTSD. It's so much more than that.
Yeah, it's like you can't expect everyone, especially, like, people who are traumatized, to heal the same. A lot of times people say, hey, if you're doing this, there's obviously something wrong. Like, going back to the point of cutting, people often like, oh, if you're cutting, you're doing something wrong. You should be better than that. But someone with, like, CPTSD who believes they should be hurt or believes that they deserve pain or something, you can't just assume that they're gonna, like, heal the same way you might have done. Like, two people can have, like, very similar traumatic experiences, but also heal in two very different ways. Someone can heal much faster than the other. I'm gonna use an example from a TV show, like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Azula and Zuko have two very similar traumas from their father, but the main difference is how their father may have treated them. Zuko was born first, he was the heir, but he wasn't as strong as Azula. And people, like, assume Ozai was, like, much better, but he still messed her up very badly. She was 14 when the war was going on. 14 years old, she was constantly praised for her firebending powers, while Zuko wasn't. But Zuko was physically harmed by Ozai, whatever his name was, And Azula was very mentally harmed. If you see by the end of the show, she's going insane. She's literally insane by the age of 14. Their mother wasn't very different. You can see that she was much nicer than the father, but she favored Zuko, much like how Ozan favored Azula. And one of the most famous quotes from the show is, "My mother called me a monster." She was right, of course, but it still hurt. Azula's 14. She has no reason to be fully believing that she is a monster. And people often try to disregard the fact that she was still a traumatized teenager with saying, yeah, but she did these horrible things. But that was her coping with the horrible things that happened to her. She was, I will continue to emphasize this point, she was 14 in the show. She looks older, but I wonder why. They're in the middle of the war. She's at the center of it. She's the princess. She's one of the strongest people in the whole entire Fire Nation. She's expected to be a soldier. She's been praised for her firebending since she was 3 years old. She's getting praised for something that she was born with, something she couldn't help to be stronger than with her brother. She was simply born like that. But her father is making it a point. You're better than everybody else. And even the thought of just claiming that someone's better, they're going to develop a complex. And when that complex slowly starts breaking down, so does their whole mental viewpoint of the world. Because when Zuko and Katara finally got the upper hand on her, she literally started just doing anything to try and fight back. She started going insane, and they had to put her in an asylum after the whole show was done in the comic books, and people don't really read them. But in the comics, she was literally stuck in an asylum for the rest of her life because she went insane with everything that was going on around her. But Zuko, with everything that happened to him, he was able to get people to come and help him. The whole Avatar team and everything. People came, and people, Aang, Katara, Sokka, Toph. He got a wife. He got a whole life. He was able to heal from what happened because people were willing to actually help him and hear him out even after everything he's done. But no one was willing to help out the little girl who was still trapped under her father's care. And I just think that really shows the difference because Zuko had a singular traumatic event. He got his face burned, which is horrible, but he was able to heal from that completely. But Azula was constantly under her father's watch, constantly in battles with the war at the age of 14. She was constantly getting told that she had to be better than everyone else and that she had to be perfect. Oh, another point I can make with this show is that the difference between Zuko and Azula's fires. Zuko stayed orange the entire time, while Azula was the first person ever to get blue fire. If you know anything, blue fire is like a perfect compaction of when fire happens. So the blue when you see blue flames and the fires, that's amazing. That's beautiful. It's gonna burn brighter. It's much hotter. So Azula literally had to work, and she was the first person to perfect fire completely. But she still believed she wasn't enough because of everything that was going on around her. But Zuko, even with his improper fire that burned lower than his younger sister, that wasn't as strong as anybody else's, he was still able to rise above everything that happened to him because of the people he had beside him and all the help he was able to get throughout the show.
Yeah, I think that kind of perfectly shows the difference between CPSD and PTSD. And well, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's basically it. There's a lot of different coping mechanisms you can have that are both good and bad, and of course everything that's good can have a bad side, and everything that's bad has a good side. But what really depends on is how much you use of each coping mechanism and how each one will affect you, because they all affect people in different ways. And really, people who are traumatized and who are hurting should always find a way to help themselves in a way that works for them instead of just listening to whatever society is telling you is good and bad. And just try and help yourself and make yourself better instead of listening to what other people might say will make you better. So, yeah, that's it.